Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. You're all very, very welcome to this session entitled Progressing Play in Ireland. It's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Great to see so many people logged in. We do have a full house. We had 100 people registered to attend today and a very long waiting list. So it's absolutely great to have such an interest in play. There are folks still filtering in, so we'll keep going because we do have a packed agenda and they will join us as they come on. Because of the interest and that long waiting list, we will be recording today's session and you will have been advised of that in your Zoom link when you registered. So the plan is to share that link with those who couldn't get a place. So all is not lost for them. They will be able to see the recording afterwards, which is great. So I'm Angela Stallard from Playboard, and I'm going to just very quickly take you through a few housekeeping items before we kick off. So first up, Alan, I just want to double check that we are recording. The recording button's on.
Yes, we are recording.
Great, thank you. Okay, so for now, everyone has been automatically muted, and this is just to help us with interference with so many folk on the call. So we'd be really grateful if you'd stay on mute for the time being, please. And if you don't mind, if you haven't already, if you would turn your screens off, and that again is just to help us with so many people, just to help us with the interference. That aside, we do encourage you to please share any questions, comments, thoughts or observations into the chat function because we do want to hear from you. So pop your comments or questions into the chat function throughout the session. I'm going to try and monitor those, and we have built in two Q&A 5-10 minutes or so, 2 slots, which I can take your questions and comments to. Your views are really, really important to us, so do be assured that you will get an opportunity to actually speak to us later on during a planned breakout session. We will be tweeting today, or Xing if that's a thing. I'm not sure what we call it anymore, but I still call it tweeting. So we're using the hashtag Progressing Play in Ireland, and it will be on the screen on the slides as we go through. So please feel free to share information through your own media channels using that hashtag. We do plan to be here until 2 o'clock, and we'll give you a very short comfort break halfway through. The aims then, I'm not sure what people are seeing on the screen, Alan. Can we put the aims up? So the next
Okay,
slide.
yeah, bear with me 1 second. There we go.
Okay, and then the next one maybe. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So the aims for today's session are in 3 parts, which you hopefully can now see on the screen. So first up, we're going to give you an overview of 2 recent children's surveys, one which we done in Northern Ireland and one which was completed in the South, and really share with you the views of children in terms of their experiences and thoughts on play across the island of Ireland. Alan Heron, CEO from Playboard, and Michelle Hart, CEO from the National Childhood Network, are going to take you through that section shortly. We then have a panel of speakers who are going to tell us all about the work of the International Play Association, or IPA, as it's more commonly known. You'll hear me refer to IPA as we go through. We're absolutely delighted to have Robin Monroe Miller joining us from the International Play Association IPA World, Jacqueline O'Loughlin from the Northern Ireland branch of IPA, and Helen Lynch, who will be talking to us about the newly formed or forming branch of IPA Ireland. So all very, very exciting, and really looking forward to hearing their input later on. I mentioned earlier breakout sessions. So they're a really, really important part of today. And I would encourage everyone with an interest in play in Ireland to make sure you stay with us and join those breakout rooms, as this will really be your opportunity to help shape the way forward, and those discussions will be key to planning for the next steps. So we'll tell you a wee bit more about the breakout rooms when we get to them later on. So just a wee reminder, you are muted, but we do really encourage you to pop any questions, comments, observations into the chat function, and we'll pick them up as we go through. So that's enough from me for now. I'm going to hand you over to Alan Heron. So enjoy, everybody, and I'll see you later.
That's great, Angela. Thank you for that. Hopefully, folks, you can all see the PowerPoint presentation. In case you're wondering, I am in the background here. We're running the presentation and trying to keep an eye on a few of the admin things. So if at any stage my attention disappears, you'll know something has happened and I'm off trying to fix it. But hopefully that won't happen.
Alan,
it is...
just to flag that the notes are shown up as well. I don't know, do you want to get it to the full screen before you head in?
Okay. Bear with me one second.
Sorry to interrupt.
Okay, hopefully that's it now. So it is.
Brilliant, thanks.
Okay. Okay, so so thank you, Angela, for that, for the introduction there. Yeah, today is really about, I suppose, sharing some of the findings of the two surveys, as Angela mentioned. One we undertook in Northern Ireland a few months ago as part of the run-up to International Day of Play, which I'm sure you're aware took place in June 2024. But also then to share the findings of a further survey we carried out with our partners, NCN, in the Republic of Ireland a few months ago. And again, I suppose what we were hoping to do through that process was to get an all-Ireland view of children and young people's perspectives on play, in particular, what they enjoy doing, but also importantly, what stops them from doing what they want to do. But it also allowed us then to explore a bit further in terms of what children actually enjoy in terms of play itself. Michelle and myself are just going to split the presentation. I'm going to kick off with some of the key findings, but I suppose just before we get into the data and the findings themselves, and I'm sure I don't need to say to this audience, how critically important play is in terms of the lives of children and young people. We know play is critical in terms of children and young people's growth and development, but also fundamentally play is a key part of childhood, and that it provides fun opportunities for children to explore the areas they live. It allows them fun opportunities to engage with others within society, and it supports them as they grow and develop through the enhancement of physical, emotional health and well-being, education, social development, and so on. So in terms of the findings themselves, and before we get to them, I just wanted to say a wee bit about Playboard NI for those who don't know. So Playboard, we are the lead organisation for play in Northern Ireland, although we do have an All-Ireland remit, and we have worked with a number of the providers here today, or the attendees today. We were established in 1985, so we're in our 40th anniversary year, so we've been around for a while now. We are a membership organisation. We have over 1,700 members, and that's a range of individuals, statutory and voluntary organisations, and academics on an individual level, but also academic institutions. Fundamentally, Playboard is about promoting play as a key mechanism for the enhancement of all of those developmental skills we talked about. So physical, mental, emotional health, education and learning, skills enhancement, and social development itself. We do provide strategic expertise and guidance to both regional and local government. For example, we supported the development of the Northern Ireland Executive's play and leisure or play and recreation strategy, and also we have supported the development of a number of local government play strategies in recent years, which have led to quite significant investment, I have to say, in play. We also then deliver direct play services, so a lot of our work would be focused in on working with schools to enhance play and play opportunities, working with councils to deliver play programs and to develop free play, we would call free play programs and initiatives at community level, and then working across communities themselves. And we do have a UK international influence through 4 nations UK play policy groups, so the Children's Play Policy Forum and the Play Safety Forum, and also at an international level through the International Play Association, which you'll hear more of shortly. I'll just pass over to Michelle. Michelle's going to give us a bit of an overview in terms of the National Childhood Network.
Alan, can I just jump in? Sorry, Michelle, before you start. I'm not sure the chat function is working at the moment. Can you have a wee look at that?
Okay, I
Yeah,
have
I will.
just replied to Naomi Feely in the Children's Rights Alliance. I'm not sure if that, oh, it's working. Yeah, that's grand. Hi, Shelley. Yeah, I think everything is working there
Thank you.
on the chat box. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, everyone. You're very welcome to our seminar today. And just to say to you, my name is Michelle Hart. I am the CEO of the National Childhood Network, and we're so delighted to have so many people coming together in a playful environment today. We hope to engage and to learn together, and to, I suppose, look at what we might do across the island of Ireland in relation to play. So first of all, the National Childhood Network was established in 1997 as the Board of Counties Childhood Network. It became a national organisation in 2015, and we are a quality support organisation for the childhood services sector, including preschool, creche, school age and child maintenance services. We're a national voluntary and community organisation, and our office is based in Monaghan. But obviously we have an outreach across all of the Republic of Ireland, and we do a lot of cross-border work as well. We receive funding mainly from the DCE, DIY and TUSLA, and this year we are also in receipt of funding from Peace Plus programme in relation to cross-border programmes. Part of the focus on our delivery of actions is to support quality childhood services and family support, enhancing children's health, well-being, learning and development. And I suppose really that is encompasses our work around play. I suppose we feel that play is at the heart of our mission. And we utilise play in many ways across the organisation to support high quality practice, whether that is in early childhood settings, school age childcare settings, or out in the home with family support, creating nurturing environments for all children. And part of our work involves providing training and resources in relation specifically to play, to support and facilitate play in settings and at home. But also because of our cross-border work, we look at the role of play in celebrating diversity and fostering inclusion. And another part of our work is advocacy around play, and hoping and working so that government policies and funding prioritise play for children. And we have just recently revised our mission and vision, and our strapline is the child at the heart of everything. So we hope that we live out that mission, that strapline with our value for play, and we're looking forward to growing that as we go forward. And you can see there we have 4,500 subscribers. We actually don't have a membership to the network, but we have lots of people engaged with us around the play agenda. Alan, I'm going to pass back over to you.
That's great, Michelle. Thank you. Folks, just bear with me 1 second. We seem to have an issue still with the chat. So if you can bear with me for 1 moment.
Alan, just before you're working around there, I just want to say, I know that there are a number of support organisations on here from the Republic of Ireland. I see the Children's Rights Alliance here. I think Mary I is here, as well as DCE, DIY, and they would have been at the forefront of supporting the play agenda and bringing play forward, just while you're fixing up that chat there. And just to say, I was recently at a Children's Rights Alliance webinar, and what they were saying was that play always comes in top 3 of what is on children's agenda. No matter what consultation they're doing, it's always on the top 3 of any consultation or participation pieces that we're doing for children. And children are always looking for safe designated places to play. So I know that it's high on other people agendas here as well in the Republic of Ireland.
That's great, Michelle. Thank you. Folks, the chat should be working, hopefully. If you do, bear with us. If you have anything you want to put in the chat and the chat's not working for you, if you hold off, once I'm finished this next bit, I'll go in and see if I can figure out what is going on. So just make it, go back to the old days, go back to pen and paper, and then you can type it into the chat at a future point in time. Thank you for that, Michelle. We'll hear from Michelle again shortly in terms of some of the survey findings. So as I said, really the motivation for the surveys themselves really came back in, I suppose, back in March, April last year, when the UN International Day of Play, the inaugural Day of Play, was announced to take place in June 2024. So in the run-up to the inaugural Day of Play, Playboard decided we would carry out a survey in Northern Ireland, really aimed at getting a better understanding of children's experiences and seeking to fulfil their right to play. So by the end of that survey process, we had 182 respondents, and they ranged from up to 18 years and under. We undertook a further survey then with NCN, focused on the Republic of Ireland in November, December 2024. Both surveys were undertaken using SurveyMonkey, and within it we had 144 respondents. And again, a good spread of ages, and we'll look at the ages shortly. So what we want to do today, we're going to present you with the findings of both the Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland surveys. And as I say, really to give us a sense, I suppose, of the overarching All Ireland findings. Okay, so hopefully that's sure is still working for you. Okay, so in terms of the age profile of the respondents themselves, then we did have a good spread of ages across both of the surveys. You'll see from the screen there are some slight differences in terms of north and south. So in the 4 and under group, we had a much higher proportion in the Republic of Ireland survey, with 30% of respondents in that age group compared to 15% in Northern Ireland. The 5 to 11 categories really provided the largest group, certainly in terms of Northern Ireland respondents. So we had a total within that of 62% compared to 28% in the Republic of Ireland. In terms of 12 to 14s, then a broadly even split, 17 and 15. And then interestingly, in the Republic of Ireland, we had a much higher proportion of respondents in the 15 to 18 age group, with 28% compared to 6%. Which really, I think, highlights something which we always sort of do try to articulate, that fundamentally play remains critically important for teenagers. Sometimes as a society we view play as something that really only younger children do, but teenagers do consistently tell us no, play is important to them as well. In terms of the locations, so the resident locations for the respondents themselves, location-wise, the majority of respondents in the Republic of Ireland were town-based. So with 39%, followed by 33% rural-based, 22 living within a village, and 20% within cities. In Northern Ireland, we had a fairly even split between the town and rural-based, with 34% resident in each, 22% city-based, and 12% within a village. When we looked at the amount of time spent in outdoor play, generally, children in Northern Ireland reported playing outdoors more. Now, that may be partly due to the higher respondent numbers, but we had 52% in the Northern Irish survey reporting an average of 5+ days per week playing outside, compared to 46% in the Republic of Ireland. 35% reported playing outdoors 2 to 4 days in the north, compared to 31% in the Republic. And for those spending less time, the pattern was then reversed. So 17% in the Republic of Ireland reported playing only 1 day outdoors, compared to 9% in Northern Ireland, and 6% reporting they never play outside, compared to 3% in Northern Ireland. So we were interested in terms of children's experiences of play, and in particular, where do children play most often? So we asked respondents to indicate where they played on a most regular basis. From the findings, we can see the majority of children, the home environment provides the main place of play, whether that be indoors. So, for example, 44% in the Republic of Ireland and 46% in Northern Ireland reported playing indoors, or in the home garden. Slight difference here, 47% in the Republic of Ireland survey, increasing to 64% in Northern Ireland, highlighting the importance of the garden as a space for play. Alongside home-based play, and interestingly, I suppose, we are constantly bombarded with screen technology these days, with online play. So 20% of Republic of Ireland respondents highlighted the importance of the role of online play, compared to 12% in Northern Ireland. Worryingly, although not surprising, I suppose, to those of us who have an interest in children's play, both street play and play in local green space were low. So we had 22% in the Republic of Ireland and 20% in Northern Ireland, reporting that they engaged regularly in street play, whilst 19 and 27% reported play in local green spaces. It is interesting to note, again, that fixed play parks, which do represent, and I would say all, certainly all council areas, and most areas across the UK and Ireland, the largest area of capital investment, certainly in play, were highlighted by just over half the respondents in Northern Ireland and less than half in the Republic of Ireland as being a key play space within their lives. Okay, so following on from that, we were interested in looking at the children's favourite types of play. So respondents were asked to identify which types of play they typically enjoyed engaging in. So in both of the surveys, we found that active play was the most popular play type, with 67% in the Republic of Ireland and 76% identifying active play as their primary and their favourite play type. I suppose following on from that, wheeled play was also relatively popular, so 40% in the Republic of Ireland, 57%, so a bit higher in the north, highlighting the use of bikes, skateboards, roller skates in play, and so on. And creative play was popular with just over 1/3 of respondents in both areas. So we had 38% in the Republic of Ireland and 41% in Northern Ireland, highlighting creative play again as being one of their favourite play types. Outdoor play, in particular nature-based or green space play, identified by 42% and 43% respectively, and hanging out then identified by 42% in the Republic of Ireland and 43% in Northern Ireland. So again, based on what we know and we understand around changing play patterns by age, hanging out would generally be viewed as an activity undertaken more by teens and older teens as they grow and as they develop. And it's interesting to see that, when you look at it, we see tech-based play is in there, 27%, both north and south. But it is interesting to note that when you ask children, what are your favorite types of play? It's the active play, it's the outdoors play, which really does come to, I suppose, the higher levels in terms of those play types. Okay, I'll just pass over to Michelle now. Michelle's going to take us through a few more of the findings.
Thank you, Alan. So some interesting pieces coming through from there, Alan. Just a couple of observations on my end in relation to wheeled play. This might come up, in terms of safety in relation to the bikes and skateboards and places to actually play. So maybe just keep that in your mind. And I'm just thinking of the number of children, for older children who have responded to the survey in the Republic of Ireland, that maybe the garden is not, they don't see the garden at home as a place to play. So I just wondered, was that maybe feeding into the metrics of our data? So in relation to why playing is important to you, in terms of keeping active, I think Alan has already talked about that. There's a fairly even split there between ROI and Northern Ireland. How it helps me to learn, there was a fairly even split there as well. It's fun and makes me happy. There was quite a huge response to that. So play for play itself, with no with an open-ended goal in mind, where children set their own agenda and their own agency. I think that speaks to that one in particular. Interestingly, we have a lower split there for getting me outdoors, for 50% in Northern Ireland and 38% in ROI, and it would be interesting to see why that is the case in terms of play spaces and investment in play spaces across the Republic of Ireland. Around the creation of things for play in terms of importance, it was a fairly straightforward or even split there as well. And interestingly, from the Republic of Ireland, they didn't see play as much in terms of percentage, in terms of making friends. And again, I'm not sure if that speaks to the older age group that fed into the Republic of Ireland slide or in data. If we could move on to the next one. So what stops you from playing? too much traffic on the streets, 17% in the Republic of Ireland and 26% in Northern Ireland said that. There's not enough time to play. It was 49%, that was quite a high, and close in Northern Ireland with 47%. And, you know, there was a lot of chat around homework and things like that in relation to the data. So I think that there's an issue there around maybe a structured childhood, and in terms of how children are playing within Ireland, across the island of Ireland, in relation for time to play. Fewer places to play where children live, 41% for the Republic of Ireland and 33%. And you know, that could be feeding into the rural end as well, because we did have feedback from children and young people who said that there were, you know, fewer places for them to engage in. In relation to not having anyone to play with, this was lower down the spectrum with ROI 23% and Northern Ireland 31%. Keep going there, Alan. So this is some of the voices that came through that would speak to the data that we have been showing there. So what children and young people have been saying is that play parks have very little for me to do as I'm in a wheelchair. So in terms of our inclusive spaces, places that we provide for children and investment that we are making across the island, are these always inclusive for all abilities and for all children to engage? As teenagers, there's really nothing in the play in the local area. We just stay indoors. So there's limitations there, or they feel there's limitations to what they can do. There is feedback around annoying the neighbours. Maybe that's in estates and things like that, where children maybe, we've often seen signs with no ball games and you know, things like that, and maybe children not being able to engage in case it causes friction and conflict. There are no safe places for me to play on my own. My parents always need to be there. I think that's very interesting, because some of the work we've been doing through the play clubs here in Monaghan, that's where we bring children together for play indoors and outdoors with no other agenda other than to let them play. That is something has come up, that they like to play on their own, but there's not always opportunity to do that. And I think it talks about the protectionist around play, and maybe the childhood that children are having in particular in across the island of Ireland. Children in my area never play outside. They sit on PlayStations, and I find that boring. So there's the emergence of the continuing emergence of the IT space, and where that's having an effect on children outside. And then again, there's nowhere to play where I live. My parents need to drive me to places, and they're often too busy, you know. So if it's not an immediate place, it obviously prohibits children from having access to that play. So there was a little poll then around how not being able to play makes children and young people feel. So in Northern Ireland, we had 71%, and interestingly, there was a gap there at 50% in the Republic of Ireland. 47% in Northern Ireland, and the Republic of Ireland said it made them sad. Another gap. Disappointed, 27% in Northern Ireland and only 6% in the Republic of Ireland. And then in Northern Ireland, it was for lonely, 21%, and ROI was 9%. And angry, interestingly, had 17% in Northern Ireland, and in the Republic of Ireland, 12%. And I think it would be lovely even to have a focus group with young people around that to try and get into, you know, some of that data around their emotions around play. I think that would be an interesting piece of work to do as well. If we move on there, Alan. So what would allow you to play more? So more time to play was fairly split between the Republic and Northern Ireland. Easier travel routes to play opportunities, higher level in the Republic of Ireland are saying that. Safer places and safer spaces and places to play, 38% in the Republic of Ireland and 31%. And then more spaces and places to play was 52% in Northern Ireland, or in the Republic of Ireland, and 46% in Northern Ireland. So I suppose, where does that take us now in relation to the policy context? And I suppose what I'm hearing from not just the survey in the Republic of Ireland, but from Northern Ireland as well, is that children want us to protect their play. And as advocates, we have to work to look at that. It seems to be very important for children across all this ecosystem that's here in front of you, where the child is in the middle, and that we can advocate for children across education, childcare, youth work, schools, and the community and the wider system, to consider how we plan for play, how we protect play, and how we help children to realise their dreams around providing for this play. Whether that's practice, or whether that's policy, or whether that's, informing and engaging around councils, whatever it is, there's a lot of policy impact for both these surveys. And before I finish, I just want to say thank you to Playboard, because I actually saw their survey running, and I jumped on the bandwagon when I saw it on an Instagram post. And I want to thank you for enabling the National Childhood Network to really engage with this survey. And I know that it was an international play survey first, and that it was repurposed then for ourselves. So I want to thank you for that. And I also want to say that we did have a charter for play in the Republic of Ireland, and we're hoping that we can relook at having another charter of play going forward in relation to policy. So thank you everyone for listening.
Thank you, Michelle and Alan. Thank you so much. Apologies, folks, we did have an issue with the chat there, so apologies. I'm hoping that has been sorted, although we haven't got any comments or questions in as yet. So it might be worth people just popping a hello into the chat, just so we can double check that everybody can access it okay. There's some coming in. Okay. It's maybe at my end. I can't seem to brilliant. Okay, it's working, so that's great. So that's positive. So yes, so thank you to Michelle and Alan for giving us an overview of the survey, and very interesting things coming through there from the children. As with no comments, I've just a couple of observations, if that's okay. Very worryingly, right at the beginning, there were 3 or 6% of children saying that they never played outside, and that was something that really jumped out at me there. Not a very high statistic, but a statistic nevertheless, so concerning for those 3 to 6% that never get to play outside. We as adults in the play world are really concerned about tech-based play. So it was interesting to see that didn't come up highly when the children were asked around their play experiences. So I was pleased to see that they preferred activities outdoors, or playing with nature, or being creative. So that was great to see. Not enough time to play came up quite a lot of times within children's answers, and I suppose there was a common theme there around time for play, space, and safer space for play. And I think right at the end there, we talked about easier travel routes for children getting to and from places to play. Michelle mentioned at the end, children want us to protect their play, and I think that's maybe where we might leave this section. That's absolutely something that we need to explore further. And I love the idea of the focus group with children and young people to do a wee bit of more exploration around how it makes children feel when they're not able to play, and what can be done about that. So I'm just checking the comments. So it'd be interesting to see all the data aggregated to provide an All-Ireland position. We are working on that. There is, you will receive, I suppose, the key highlights after today's session, but we are working on a fuller report. may have missed this, but was it intentional? ELC and SAC services weren't an option where children play. I would assume this is where a lot of children would engage in playful activities. Alan, I'm not sure. Can you address that one? Did the survey was open to everyone?
Yes, the survey was open, so we did have a number of categories within it in terms of where children played, but there was the option then for children to add in further, you know, in terms of SAC services or other spaces and so on. So there is actually there's more data, I suppose, behind that question we can interrogate further. So, you know, we will begin to see some. I do know from just some of the observations, for example, schools were being identified within that as well, as a space for children to play. So yeah, there is more data there. We can sort of disaggregate that further down, so we can.
Yeah, so Alan, can I just say, Aoife, we did send it out to all the settings as well, and school-age childcare services. So Alan's right, there is data coming forward from them as well. But interestingly, yeah, that's an interesting observation. We could look at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay.
I just
Go on
noticed
ahead,
there was a comment there around the lack of time for play and why that is the case for many children. And I think, you know, from our experience, certainly what children tell us is that their lives have become increasingly, I suppose, timetabled in terms of the activities they engage in and the activities they do. And part of that is, particularly as children go through the school system, it's the impact of homework, it's the impact of ongoing assessment, but it's also the fact that many children's lives are becoming timetabled in terms of the activities they attend. So they may attend, for example, football, GAA, it could be dance, it could be a club of some way, shape, form, or description, which are recreational, but they're not play, and that the child is not able within most of those settings to determine the types of play that they want to engage in. So I think it's just a case that many children's lives are becoming increasingly busy, increasingly timetabled, and the actual space just to play and just to be a child and play is reducing quite significantly for many.
Okay. Thank you, Alan. Okay, if there are no more questions or comments, we treat children's lives as becomings rather than beings in the here and now, absolutely. Okay, I'm going to move us into the next session. There we go. There's lots of people now coming into the chat. That's great. Thank you. So keep coming into the chat as we go through the next section. So it gives me great pleasure now to introduce Robin Munro-Miller. Robin is CEO of Play Australia, the national advocacy organisation for play, and since 2017 she has been president of the International Play Association IPA World. Robin has represented IPA World on the UN Working Group for the development of the General Comment on Article 31 and the Global Working Group for the International Day of Play campaign. Active in the media, she speaks regularly at international and national events on the importance of play as a biological imperative, critical for healthy development and essential to building social cohesion. I've heard Robin speak many, many times, and when listening to her, I always come away really inspired, motivated and excited about the world of play. So no pressure, Robin. I'm really looking forward to her input. Robin is joining us from Australia. So if I've done my homework right, that means it's around midnight in Robin's world right now. So an extra special thank you to Robin for joining us at what should be her bedtime. So welcome, Robin.
Thank you so much, Angela. And and as I say, you've set me up. Now I'm going to have to try and inspire you all. But yes, my name's Robin, and I am joining you from Australia. And my job tonight is to just tell you a little bit more about IPA World, and also about our mission and our focus, and hopefully inspire you to think about becoming part of an IPA branch in the Republic of Ireland, or if you're currently in Northern Ireland, there is already a branch in existence that you might join. But the International Play Association is over 60 years old. So it is one of the oldest membership organisations in the world, basically, around play. In fact, we believe it to be the only international play organisation. So at over 60 years of age, it has done a lot of work over many years in regards to advocacy. The one thing that has never changed has been the goal and why IPA World was formed. And that was around the protection, preservation and promotion of the child's right to play. And when you look at why it was formed many years ago, you know, over 60 years ago, in a way we could say we haven't done a very good job, because what we have seen is that those very critical elements of play have basically, in many cases, sort of been threatened for children across the world. I mean, this photograph that you see here is of young children in who from 2015, I think I was there, and they were in a refugee camp in Syria, out of Syria, on the border in the Bekaa Valley in Lebanon. And as the IPA belief is that wherever children are, they are entitled to right to play, and that is a fundamental human right. What we do know is that play in the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child isn't separate. It sits in amongst and is of equal importance to all of the other rights in the United Nations Convention. And that includes the right to education, the right to healthcare, the right to have a name and a family. Those rights are all indivisible. And so many of children's rights, when we actually, you know, remove or threaten one right, actually comes and threatens the others. And so it is a case of interrelated. But our goal in IPA World is really around that focus of the protection, preservation, and looking at play in particular. And that makes us quite unique. I suppose there are three key things that we actually do work towards in IPA World, and that's on the next slide, Alan. And so firstly, we are an international cross-sectoral forum. And the beauty of this cross-sectoral forum is that we have people from all range of careers, of affiliations. We have, you know, playground designers, playground manufacturers, we have teachers, we have educators, we have occupational therapists, you name it. If they've got a passion or an interest in play, if they believe in our vision, they're invited to be part of this international cross-sectoral forum. And because it's international, one of the things that we have found is that there is a lot of opportunity for us to actually share information, knowledge, and actually sort of grow our organisations or our own fields of work because of the work with IPA. A gentleman only recently was speaking to me, and he actually is a librarian, and he said that he had actually joined IPA and had, as a result of just the inspiring way he'd met other people, both at conferences and on webinars, he had realised that he could incorporate so much play into his work as a librarian, and has changed the way he does things to ensure that play is protected in that environment. So as I say, if you were like me as a child and the noisiest child that always got sent out of the library, that would be music to my ears. So you can see that there is an opportunity to learn from each other. It's also about, for IPA, about developing that global understanding of the fact that play is a human right of every child. And obviously, as the research is progressing, the one thing we do know now is also it's more than just a human right, it's a biological necessity. So when we don't allow children to play, when we restrict opportunities to play, we're actually restricting their human development and their ability to learn and their brain capacity. So many things that are happening inside of our bodies that we didn't know 60 years ago, we now know are critical and are sort of created through the process of play, and what happens in our brain when we play, and the neurotransmitters that are firing off, and the neural connections that are made. And finally, our third real mission in IPA is around creating that united and inclusive world voice for play advocacy. We're not about big corporations, and we don't have much money. We are a grassroots organisation. We survive on very little, and we have a small membership fee, and then each of our branches is able to charge a little bit more in order to help maintain their work. And so we have this global perspective of sharing, of communicating, and actually learning about each other and trying to help facilitate things. But we also have that local level sort of approach, and that's one of the, I believe, one of the strengths. I mean, we've recently seen Portugal formed a branch, and as a result of them forming a branch, they've done so much grassroots work in Portugal and connected up with many government departments in that role as IPA World representatives for Portugal, and it's been a real sort of catalyst for them for play in Portugal. And I believe that every country has the capacity to do that as well. So if you're looking at sort of some of the things that we do, the concrete things that we offer, we have a Playwrights magazine. Now, the latest one was just released for the new year, for Christmas and the new year, and it's free. There's links available for that. We can actually get those sent out to you if you haven't already seen them. They're also on our Facebook page, the link, so that you can actually access that. On this edition, we have the Policies for Play, which is a focus on the national governments and what's happening for play across the world. We also have formed an editorial committee. So that's another way we are trying to empower and increase our membership and increase that cross-sectoral collaboration, because we are forming working groups and membership reference groups that help people who want to take more of an active approach internationally, that they can, whereas some people choose to just concentrate their efforts at a local level, and some prefer just at this stage in their lives to be observers and supporters. Whatever contribution people wish to make, it's appreciated and supported, because we all go through stages in our lives where we're feeling completely energetic, and other times where we're feeling like there's other things happening, whether they be young children, old parents, or just difficult work situations. We also have that ability, because of our cross-sectoral communication and ability to sort of interact with each other. We run webinars now. We have free webinars for members. You can see this photo at the bottom is just a recent one from Playful City in Hong Kong, and that incorporated, I think it was 6 of our members, membership from 6 different countries included there. There was Hitoshi from Japan, there was Marguerite from Scotland, Sudeshna from India, Tim from England. Obviously our branch was there involved, our IPA branch in Hong Kong. And there was our representative, Mary Jevons from Australia, where we have Play Australia. So you can see the beauty of an IPA World is it means that you've got those connections and you can actually utilise those in many different ways to help raise the profile of play. We've also been involved in the International Day of Play. We were actually on the working group for that. And our members at our last IPA World Conference back in June 2023 endorsed that we would work towards an International Day of Play. We worked with a range of corporate providers, corporate groups, large NGOs to achieve that. So June the 11th last year was quite a victory for IPA World. Another significant milestone for IPA World was the general comment that we actually were involved in back in 2012. And that also has helped shape and inform many government policy or different groups who are trying to actually advocate for play. And the general comment is really a further explanation of what Article 31 means. So once again, some of the things I'm saying maybe make you say, what is she talking about? But this is all part of that language we start to use when we're part of this International Play Association, and developing a really common language around what play is, what play isn't, and what are the different instruments and mechanisms we can leverage to actually enhance and grow the influence of play in all of our communities. I suppose there's 2 principles that I would like to say are based on what we do in IPA. The first one is that in Article 31, we understand that in order to uphold it, we uphold it through supporting the conditions in which play can take place. So our role isn't in IPA World about, necessarily creating play, but it's supporting those conditions for play to take place. Children own the play. And the other thing that we strongly believe in is that the child's ability to exercise the right to play should not be dependent on where they were born or the family that they were born into. We believe this is so fundamental, so that we need to look for opportunities where play is not occurring as a result of these impacts, and so that we can support the conditions. Definitely our role with the IPA has been, you'll see there's some free resources on site around children in crisis. So we've done work with Ukraine, work with Lebanon. A range of organisations have helped us with translations to support that, to support those very basic principles. But I suppose if I was to ask you about, joining IPA, I'll give you my perspective, and this is really about finding your why. Now, for each of us, we need to decide if, in joining Play Australia, not Play Australia, IPA World, in joining IPA World, we need to sort of think about, well, does it sit with my values? And that's really important. We're not on a membership drive, okay? That the important thing is, for IPA World, we need people who believe in the same vision that all of the rest of the members who have joined up believe in, and that is around play and the importance to uphold it. It's not as much an organisation that says these are the benefits, join us for the benefits. It's about, these are our values, join us because you believe in this as well. You want to have those conversations, you want to be inspired, and you want to inspire. So it's very much, membership's a reciprocal process of supporting each other, of being encouraged and really saying, yes, let's talk deeply about play and let's actually encourage it. So I do say it's not an organisation that's necessarily all about the benefits. It's definitely an organisation that's all about the relationships and the values that we want, and helping to inspire each other. So finding a why. And so, as I say, my why is that I had a very happy, healthy childhood. This is me wearing a very fashionable sun hat before sun hats were fashionable in Australia. And for some reason, I am telling a story about a fish. I don't know what that's got to do with my tongue, but potentially it was probably, I thought my tongue might be able to touch my nose. But obviously, that inspiration of knowing what a childhood of free play is like has been my inspiration, and I've wanted to ensure that that's achieved for all children, regardless of where they are in the world. And so finally, I'd like to leave you with this particular quote. It is from the committee on the general comment that I referred to, which, as I said, contains far more detail around how Article 31 can be implemented. So it's definitely worth a read. But this is where it is. We're about effective implementation, and this is what our members are about. So when you join IPA World, you are talking about, obviously, how we can effectively implement in whatever environment you're in, the children's right to play, the conditions for play to occur. And that's where we hope will inspire you. We hope you will inspire us, and that we can actually work towards that same goal, whatever environment you are, and in whatever, as a cross-sectoral organisation, in whatever field of practice you are in, effective implementation of play and children's rights to play. So thank you, and I do hope that we will have a lot of you considering joining up and becoming part of this international organisation.
Thank you, Robin. I loved your sun hat, by the way. I've never seen that photographed before. Thank you. Didn't I tell you, Robin is inspiring? I think what you've done there is you've really reaffirmed our belief in the importance of play in children's lives. I suppose a few comments before I hand over to our next speaker. You mentioned a couple of things. So I get really excited when I hear of other people all around the world talking about play, because play is what we talk about in our daily lives. And when I hear people all around the world doing that, it just gives me goosebumps. Robin mentioned the first ever International Day of Play last year, and I was so proud to be part of that. I've been working in the play world for 30 years, and that day I think was one of my proudest days, to be part of a day where advocates all around the world were advocating together for play. That was a goosebump day for me, for sure. Couple of other things, Robin, that you mentioned. So you, on one of your screens there, or your slides, you showed the Playwrights magazine. Brilliant read, everybody. So I would absolutely, definitely say sign up to that. You also mentioned the members' webinars. That's where I get to hear Robin and colleagues speak. And that's where I do come away really, really inspired and motivated. So I would suggest to people to go on to the website and try and find those. And then the last thing, I suppose, is the IPA, the World Conferences, which take place if you can find funding to get to those places, no matter where it is in the world, whether it's in Australia, New Zealand, Glasgow, Northern Ireland, no matter where it is, a great day or a great conference to be part of. So again, I would really recommend folk look out for information on conferences when they come through. So thank you so much, Robin. And as I say, what time is it in Australia? Did I do
Okay,
work
we
right?
are currently at just at midnight in Australia.
Okay.
I'm
So
turning into a pumpkin.
well, thank you. Honestly, from the bottom of our hearts, thank you so much for being with us and for staying out of bed a wee bit later than normal.
It's
So
my
thank
pleasure,
you.
and it's an occupational hazard of being president of IPA World. So
That's dedication for you. Thank you. Can I now hand over to Jacqueline O'Loughlin? Jacqueline, many of you may know, she is the former Chief Executive of Playboard in Northern Ireland and another true dedicated and passionate advocate for play. Jackie is the Northern Ireland representative on the World Council for IPA, and she is also the current chairperson for the Northern Ireland branch. So welcome, Jacqueline.
Thanks, Angela. I mean, how do you follow that? Dedication or what? 12 o'clock at night. I don't think my brain would actually function at that time of night to talk about anything. Hi, everyone. I'm really delighted to be joining you today. And I suppose my role really is just to highlight what we do in the Northern Ireland branch of IPA, and I suppose consolidate, what Robin is saying about, why you should join or why you should be a member of IPA. We as a local branch come together in 2017 to form the Northern Ireland branch, but our history goes back further than that. Initially, Northern Ireland were part of the England-Wales branch, which was called UNI, obviously standing for England, Wales and Northern Ireland. And I remember going to those meetings. So I've been a member of IPA from the late 90s, I think. So I would have went to those meetings on a quarterly basis and absolutely did get inspired, got enthused about what was happening. But for me, and I think for my colleagues in Wales as well, we became a little bit frustrated in that the focus was very England centred as opposed to our local needs. So after much consideration and thinking about, who would be on our group of IPA, we decided back in 2017, after the triennial conference in Canada, to form our own group. And part of the reason for that for me was about representation. I felt we're doing so much in Ireland across both North and South on play, but was it being recognised? Did anyone know about IPA? And I remember that conference, and Angela says it was fantastic to be in a group or in a room with over 400 delegates, all focused on play, all talking about play, all on your page, knowing exactly where your heart was coming from. And I was inspired, but I was frustrated that I was the only person from Northern Ireland at that conference, just me. So I was busy trying to, fly the flag, if you like, for Northern Ireland. Alan was to come with me that time, but unfortunately due to illness couldn't attend. But Helen was there as well. And I remember having a chat with Helen at one of the working groups, and thinking at that time, could we do something ourselves, either Northern Ireland or the Republic of Ireland or all Ireland? What would that look like? So when I come back, I pulled together a few key advocates, people who I know, some of them on the screen here. We can see Mr. McCartney here, a key advocate for play. So we came together and we decided, yes, we could do this. We can set up our own branch. So we did. Interestingly, 2017, 2018, 2019, we were very active. We had the first ever play gathering in Northern Ireland, which was a fantastic 2-day event. And everything was going swimmingly until, of course, COVID comes along. And we all know the story behind COVID. But we kept our roots. We tried to promote play. We've done some publications during COVID. We had some virtual gatherings and seminars, and we kept going, and we're continuing to keep going. Part of our work is about trying to, if you like, embrace the fundamental human right for every child. We work closely with Playboard as a key ally to make that happen. And as you know, Alan said, they're the lead body for play in the North. But we're thrilled to have many of the Playboard staff on our membership as well, on our group, on our committee. Playboard's work, widespread respect, helps us get doors open, if you like. So we've been working with policymakers, we've been working with local communities, we've been working with schools, and it's fantastic just to see, you know, how much work a little group can actually do and achieve. We mentioned, Robin mentioned about membership fees and so on. It's not about trying to garner funds, it's about trying to fundraise so we can actually do something worthwhile. We have activities like our annual quiz night, which is always great fun. Mr. McCartney and his brother are our quiz masters, and you can imagine what that's like. But these events allow us to participate in the wider IPA world events. They allow us also to sponsor local groups and local individuals who can't afford to attend some of these events. And I think that's a really worthwhile thing to be able to do. As you can probably tell, we're a very passionate group of people. We're committed to making Northern Ireland a more playful space and place, whether it's through advocacy work, through community projects, or just spreading the joy of play. We're dedicated to ensuring that every child here across the island of Ireland knows the happiness of and benefits of unstructured playtime. So if you're interested in getting involved or learning more about IPA, reach out. We're all here. We're happy to take questions. Let's together make play in Northern Ireland and Ireland a better activity for all children and all children's development. I'll finish at that, Angela.
Thank you, Jackie. Thank you. I'm a member of the Northern Ireland branch that Jackie's talking about, so I can vouch and reaffirm everything that she has said there. And it's great to be part of a local group of people who are volunteers primarily, but are there because they're passionate about play. So if that's you, I would absolutely encourage you to join. You might get a job, you might not. You can come to some meetings, you can come to all meetings. It's very, very much up to you, but we'd love to have passionate play people involved. So thank you, Jackie, for that. Last but not least, I'm now going to introduce you to Dr. Helen Lynch from University College Cork. So Helen is another well-known play champion, and she has particular interests in occupational science as it relates to children's right to play, play environments, children's participation and outdoor play. She's also co-principal investigator on an innovative training network, P4Play, developing an occupational science PhD programme focused on the study of play and social inclusion. And Helen is one of the key drivers, herself and Shelley McGee that you can see on the screen there, are the key drivers behind the establishment of an IPA branch for Ireland. So over to you, Helen.
Thanks, Angela. Can you hear me okay? Okay, thank you. First of all, thanks so much for Playboard Northern Ireland and for IPA in Northern Ireland and for RAB and IPA World, because it's through many discussions the last couple of years that's brought us to this place where we really feel it's the right time to have this discussion for the Republic of Ireland to see about setting up some kind of play forum, play network. Myself and Shelley met 2 years ago at the Department of Children and Hubna Nogue for the becoming part of members of the panel for children's participation. So we come from a rights-based perspective, and we really believe in the right to play as a common ground for us all to be able to come together, irrespective of our professional, different starting points, or whether we're working in policy or practice or research. Next slide, please, Alan. So yeah, one of our initial, or many of our initial discussions happened also around this whole gathering for the triennial. Every 3 years, these IPA World Conferences happen. So in Glasgow recently, and we were both at it and couldn't get over the volume of representation from Ireland around the different projects that we were some part aware of, but mostly surprised at the range of projects and programs that are happening that we were not connected to already, or that weren't so visible in our community here in Ireland. So I think that's a really important issue around making a lot more of our work more visible, and how do we use this to capacity build and network better. Next slide, please. And the context that we're coming from, of course, is that we have the new framework for Children Young Ireland, the policy for that. And in the consultation that was done leading up to this new policy was with children, showed, as Michelle mentioned at the start, how children will consistently say this is the most important thing, the best thing about being in child in Ireland is around leisure and culture and play. So this is a constant piece of data that we always seem to have, and yet if you question what do we do with it then. So if you go to the next slide, you also see with this data, you have the groups like Children's Rights Alliance talking about the need for play and play deprivation as an issue, and they called from the new programme for government that is coming into being at the moment, to the need to create a national lead on play in the absence of Play Board Ireland or IPA Ireland, or a forum or a network already. We do need to have leadership on play. And yet you come to the next slide, and you'll see the draft programme that was then released, and you search it for play, and these are the only pieces I could find. There were programmes around daily physical activity, increasing funding for sport, prioritising the development of physical education halls and sporting facilities. So they did mention here yards and play areas, but to me this smacks a lot of an adult perspective on activity, on perhaps structured activity, and a bit, again, like what Alan was saying earlier, and Robin, like, where is the free play, the time and space for play in any of our government policy and practices at the moment? Next slide, please. And yes, we did have a fantastic play policy, which I believe is still one of the best policies internationally, and that we could still say is our current policy, but it does need to be updated. But generally, for provision of free play and space and time for play in Ireland, we lack this sort of policy foundation or anchor point for us nationally and locally. We don't have a play branch, a Play Board Ireland or our network yet, hence this discussion today and seeing our people interested in trying to come together. And therefore, perhaps it's not surprising there's no clear guidance on providing for play in local authorities. For example, and from my experience in my research, has been a lot around designing and provision for inclusive playgrounds. And we saw that quote that Michelle had about the child that said, well, there's no point going to playgrounds, I'm a wheelchair user and there's nothing there for me. That's a common feedback we've had from children and families of children with disabilities. And also, for example, underdeveloped child-centred processes for children's participation and planning for play, which is what's triggered my interest in joining the participation unit and the Hub na Nóg for trying to ensure we can include children's voice a lot more in this and play provision. If you go to the next slide, please. That doesn't mean nothing's happening, though. As we said at the start, with IPA Glasgow, we could see how many interesting and fantastic projects are happening around Ireland. Here's just a flavour. There's National Play Day, yes. We have a play trail in Cork and Let's Play Cork. We've been involved in the Playful Paradigm, but that's at a national and across EU level, and our P4Play projects and child-friendly cities developing. But of course, there's play pedagogy as well, and how that works for early childhood sector and in primary school sectors, and we've people doing research in playgrounds, etc. around that. So there are lots of fantastic examples, and we would be a lot more strengthened if we could come together and share that expertise and do better together, I think. Next slide, please. So that's where we've come to today, is to try and see if anyone among the group here are interested in becoming part of this network. We did have initial discussions with Jacqueline and with Robin to explore an All-Ireland approach, of course, because that is, still core and central as a potential way forward. But meanwhile, a starting point from both of their advice would be if we'd even try together to do an Ireland branch and begin with that. And Jacqueline has offered her support from their experience experience in Playboard Northern Ireland, and IPA Northern Ireland, to help us establish and at the early stages of how this might work. So the next and almost final slide, please. So our next steps that we're proposing for an IPA Ireland is that we would invite membership, which is what we're doing today, confirm approval by the World Committee, which Robin is doing for us, or putting the proposal at committee world level, which is due to take place in February. And from there would be then in a position to contact the members who have signed up under the Irish branch piece on the IPA website. And together we would set up a first meeting to establish a first a format of a branch and what we want to do and set goals with that. So just a final flagging thing, just if you are interested, those who are here interested in playing schoolyards, we have an Irish Research Council postdoctoral researcher, Michelle Bergen, conducting research at the starting point of it. So here's a connection there if you want to get in touch around that. For next week, she's having a seminar. Okay, thank you. I'm going to hand back to Angela to see where we go, with hopefully some chance to discuss a bit more people's interests and where to go next.
Thank you, Helen. Exciting times, and I think the key word that you said towards the end there, it's about people coming together and collaborating. You've recognised that there is stuff happening, but it's about bringing those folk together, which I think is really, really exciting. So thank you for that. I look forward to seeing how things progress in Southern Ireland. I suppose a couple of comments, and then we have got a time frame here for some questions and answers, and I have been trying to monitor the chat as we've gone through, so I've notes all around me here. I got excited listening. I kept forgetting to write down, so forgive me. So yeah, recognition on the importance of play across the island of Ireland, that's our job. I think that's kind of what you were bringing across there, Helen, and also about making play visible. So there is lots of play happening on the ground, lots of programs, lots of initiatives, lots of lovely stuff, but it's about making play visible. And I think that's making play visible and seen up on top of those policy and strategic developments. I think that's where things maybe need to improve. And I suppose I just want to go back to one of Robin's slides to finish this little section. So Robin had shared a slide around Article 31 and the general comment. And one of the lines within it, which I just loved, was Article 31 is a vital dimension of childhood itself, fundamental to joy, fun and sheer pleasure of growing up. And I just love that. That just encapsulates everything that we're talking about here today. So yeah, thank you, Helen, for your input there. So really humbling to hear about the work of IPA right across the world. And as I said earlier, it always gives me goosebumps and gets me very excited. Dedicated, passionate people who have a desire to advocate for play and promote play in whatever way they can. And I'm guessing that's why you have all joined us here today. So yeah, exciting times ahead. So I'm just going to move into the question and answer slot here now. So not a lot of questions, but quite a few comments in the chat if I just run through those quickly. So a few comments around play strategies and the strategic approach to play. People on there talking about CIPSEs, and I'm aware of the work of CIPSEs, and that play is very much on the agenda there, absolutely. There's been a few mentions of some policy documents, particularly around Ready Steady Play and Teen Space, and a few comments asking where are they, where are those policies? Suggestion that folk look to Play Wales and Play Scotland. They've been doing a lot of work around place efficiency, and I think we all, including ourselves in Northern Ireland, we've all a lot to learn from that. Something that's top of our agenda in Playboard in Northern Ireland is working towards place efficiency. Few comments around parents, and parents maybe not always valuing the importance of play. both organisations, both Playboard and NCN and others who are here on the room, do a lot of work around that in helping parents to understand the importance of play. So do speak to us if you were one of those folk who put that in the chat. Do come and chat to us about that and the work that we do around parents. Again, I think I've mentioned it already, the Play Rights magazine that Robin had talked about. Somebody had asked for a link. I'm not sure if the link has gone into the chat, but if it hasn't, we can send it out afterwards with the recording and other bits and pieces that we're going to furnish you with. Lots of people saying that they'd like to be involved, which is great. That's what we wanted to see today. So we will hold you to that. So if you have said in the chat that you're interested or you'd like to be involved, you will be hearing from us. But on a serious note, everyone will be hearing from us. We will be following up with further information after today's session. So I think in terms of the comments in the chat, I hope I've done that justice and I've tried to capture everything there. As I say, I did get excited and kind of forgot that I was supposed to be watching that because I was too busy listening to our speakers, so forgive me. So we are now at that point in the proceedings where we, the organisers, get very nervous because we're relying on IT and poor Alan here, because we are going to break out shortly into breakout rooms. So we will be in the breakout rooms for about 20-25 minutes, just depending on time. You have all been pre-assigned a breakout room, and we've done that really. We had a real variety and a real mix of people join us today. So we've pre-assigned you into a room to try and get a mix of folk in each of those rooms. So not very playful of us, I know, and I hope you forgive us for that, but you will find yourself in a room shortly. If all goes according to plan, there will be 5 rooms. And within each room, you will find either Helen, Jacqueline, Michelle, Shelley from NCN, or myself. So one of us will be in your room. And it's our job really to try and collect the discussion that happens in that room. We can't record in there, but we will be writing everything down furiously. When the time is up, we will automatically be brought back into this bigger room. So we won't have time today to get feedback from each of those sessions, and that's just because of the sheer breadth of the folk that are on today. But we do plan to collate the notes that we take, and we will pull those together into a report and share the feedback with you over the next week or so. So we'll try to do that as quickly as we can, but just be assured you will get some feedback from the breakout rooms. We do ask you to come back to us after the breakout rooms for the final 10 minutes and a bit of a close. I know when folk are on online sessions, there is a tendency to drop off. You kind of think, oh, well, I'm ready for a cup of tea. Do you know what? I'll not go back for the final 10 minutes. But so this is just a little plea from us to ask you to stick with us. We will have you off by 2 o'clock as we set out to do. But just stick with us and do come back after the breakout room.
Okay, folks. So look, thanks for staying with us. I know it's a fair amount of time to take out of your day, so we really do appreciate you not only coming along for the seminar, but staying for the breakout conversations, and hopefully you found those useful. Absolutely no doubt you could have probably went on for a few more hours in conversation. That's always the way with breakout rooms, but it's really just there. I hope to hopefully to stimulate a wee bit of a conversation at the beginning of what will hopefully be a fruitful process. I just want to finish up with the next steps really in terms of, I suppose, where we feel we need to go to, and you'll no doubt have your own views on that. But there are a few practical things I suppose we can do moving forward. So obviously, a couple of key things in terms of the findings of the survey itself. We will be disseminating those findings. We have been sharing the key findings via social media. That will continue over the next few days, and we are working on a press release, which again will focus in on the main findings, and that'll be released again over the next few days, just to try to hopefully build on the momentum we've sort of developed at today's session. We have been recording the session, so that will be shared with those who were able to attend, but also with those who maybe weren't able to attend for whatever reason. So you'll be able to view that back again. In terms of the breakout rooms, so obviously we don't really have time to go into a detailed feedback session, but what we will do is you each had a rapporteur within your session, and we will be compiling the feedback and the key discussion points from that. Looking at I suppose the key suggestions, gaps, any of the issues that were sort of coming through within those breakout groups, and we will be pulling those together in a feedback report, which we will again share with everyone once we're able to get that finalized. I suppose the next thing is always that question. It's the so what question in terms of what we spent the last couple of hours doing. It's that future planning element, and we always suppose we view in terms of ourselves, NCN and IPA. We sort of view this as hopefully the start of a process and the start of an ongoing engagement with yourselves and indeed with the broader stakeholder base as it grows and develops. So in terms of the future planning, we are hoping to hold a further session, and it will focus really on the feedback in terms of the breakout rooms, also the feedback emerging from the dissemination of the findings, and we hope that will focus in more so on the next steps piece. So in other words, what are the key actions coming out of the survey? What are the key actions coming out of the engagement today? And where do we as a collective group of stakeholders who are not only dedicated to fulfilling the child's right to play, but who are dedicated to hopefully bringing about positive change for children across Ireland, both north and south, how we can work more collaboratively together. So folks, that's really us today. As I say, thank you for coming along. Thanks for giving your time up. Thanks to all the speakers who gave their time up. Thanks to Robin. I think Robin has left now, quite understandably. Thanks to Robin for joining us from the other side of the globe. Once the session ends, that's hopefully not the end of the engagement. Do keep in contact, do keep in touch. You will be hearing from us shortly, as I say, in terms of the feedback reports, and also we'll begin the process of developing that next stakeholder engagement piece as well. So thank you all again, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Can I just say before we go, Alan, a huge thank you to everybody as well who joined the session and engaged so well with us all. But actually, I want to say a huge thank you to Shelley McGee, NCN school age childcare specialist, because she has done an awful lot of work on the survey, the play survey for children on our side, and also supporting Helen around the IPA Ireland branch. So on behalf of NCN, Shelley, we want to thank you so much for engaging with us and helping us do this, and for helping us keep the play agenda at the top of the agenda. So Shelley, thank you.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear.